GRU Space recently came out of stealth with plans to build a lunar hotel. If they meet their expected timeline, you will be able to travel to their hotel on the lunar surface in 2032. That's only 6 years from now. Their website doesn't give us a whole lot of information, but luckily they provided a 17-page white paper that I will reference for this video. The link to the white paper is in the video description if you want to read it yourself. It's quite technical in places, so I'll just give a summary that includes all the details, but without any math. GRU Space's vision is for humanity to transition into a spacefaring species. In their opinion, this is a question of when, not if. While the cost of launching mass to orbit is lower than ever, there is still no progress on expanding civilization beyond Earth. There is no guide on how to build a Martian or lunar economy. Although I will push back on that since I've covered DARPA's 10-year guide for a lunar economy extensively on this channel. But I get the point. No company has shown a way to build anything sustainable on the moon yet. The problem GRU identifies is that current methods are incremental, with too much reliance on government money. Projects are staffed by risk-averse people aiming to solve immediate and short-term needs, rather than thinking of the bigger picture. GRU Space rejects the need to wait for government consensus to build the future. GRU's 5 foundational beliefs. They explain the 5 foundational beliefs on the future of the space economy. First, they believe expansion into space is inevitable. Humans are naturally curious. If we have the technical means to explore and expand outwards, we will. Second, exploration off-world will drive up the quality of life. Developing tools to use resources in harsh environments drives progress in technology that benefits humans here on Earth. Third, the necessity of using local resources when building infrastructure on other planets or moons. To survive, you cannot depend on vital resources arriving from Earth. You must be able to make them locally. Fourth, civilizational autonomy. They consider Mars to be a civilizational moat due to its 26-month transfer window, requiring a truly independent industrial base. Establishing a closed-loop manufacturing capability on Mars secures the economic foundation for the entire solar system. And finally, fifth, establishing population centers off-world can result in trillion-dollar companies within the next 3 decades. The current space industry is based on government-funded missions and commercial launches. They consider legacy companies, and even space startups, stalled because they are waiting for government agencies to define the hardware requirements before building anything. In short, there are no true customers. Without customers on the moon, you can't sell them goods and services, so the first task is to provide a place to stay for tourists who want to travel to the moon. Once a lunar hotel is established, all kinds of goods and services can be provided to service paying customers. GRU Space intends to outflank the entire space industry by rejecting industry's reliance on slow-moving government timelines. They are not waiting for a lunar or Martian economy to exist, they are going to build it themselves. The fastest way to spin up a lunar economy is with tourism. The first lunar hotel provides immediate value for customers on Earth, while proving out the core capabilities needed for permanent lunar infrastructure. The moon is only the first destination for GRU. They intend to build infrastructure on Mars and beyond. Funding. This all sounds well and good, but how do they plan to fund such a complex set of missions, including prospecting, building, outfitting, and operating a hotel on the moon? Especially since the company has stated they don't want to be dependent on government money. The solution: high-end tourism. Their approach offers 2 critical economic and technical benefits. Revenue sovereignty. By tapping into the wealth of high-net-worth individuals, they bypass government contracting, bureaucracy, and paperwork. And technology validation. If you think about it, the process of building a hotel on the moon requires the same kind of technology you would need for autonomous excavation, in-situ resource utilization, and pressurized habitation. By building a single commercial product, a lunar hotel, they achieve an end run around competitors who are waiting for governments to hand out funding. The top secret GRU master plan. If you thought the idea of a hotel on the moon is crazy, you should hear their other plans. It's all outlined in their top secret master plan. Here are their steps. I swear this is in their plan. If you don't believe me, you can check for yourself in the white paper. Step 1. Build the first hotel on the moon. GRU solves off-world surface habitation. Step 2. Build America's first moon base. Roads, mass drivers, warehouses, physical infrastructure on the moon. Step 3. Repeat on Mars. Step 4. Once the Overton window increases and this moves from non-consensus to consensus, GRU owns property on the moon and Mars. Step 5. Use the money to reinvest in resource utilization systems on the moon, Mars, asteroids and beyond that are fed into the growing economies and civilizations in space. Reach their final form, galactic resource utilization. Step 6. Humanity reaches Kardashev scale type 3. This makes Elon Musk's plans look tame. He only talked about a puny type 2 civilization. GRU wants to go all the way to type 3. GRU believes the next trillion-dollar company has nothing to do with AI. It's about building the first cities on the moon and Mars, enabling billions of people to live and work off-world. The GRU Economic Case. GRU believes the company that can harness the full energy and resources of the solar system will be the most valuable company in human history. Here's how they plan to do just that. The beachhead, high-end tourism. They will deliver a super premium experience, which is hard to do anywhere on Earth. Mount Everest was once an exclusive experience. Today, hundreds of tourists go up the mountain at once. Even going into space isn't that special anymore. With Blue Origin and New Shepard, going to space is almost routine. It hardly even gets a mention in the news. Take a look at this chart. Even the most exclusive experiences, such as orbital flight on the Crew Dragon, will inevitably become routine soon. How many people remember Fram 2? If you don't know about that mission, it proves my point. Super premium customers demand truly exclusive experiences. A Lunar hotel fits the bill. A small number of high net worth individuals will pay the sky-high prices to have this extremely rare opportunity. With the cost of launching into space and with bigger commercial launch vehicles on the horizon, it should continue to get easier and cheaper to travel into space. GRU believes SpaceX's pricing power will diminish due to more competition, requiring them to charge much closer to their internal costs, which are estimated at around $15 to $20 million. Given the number of reusable rockets that are due to launch soon, and with New Glenn already having landed their first stage successfully on their second attempt, SpaceX will be feeling the heat soon enough. SpaceX is currently offering $100,000 per kilo to the lunar surface, starting in 2028. That's 10 times cheaper than what NASA paid for Firefly and Astrobotic landers. GRU believes their first lunar hotel, version 1 as they call it, will require 10 tons, or around 9,000 kilos of equipment sent to the moon and can house 4 guests for an average of 5 nights. Their second hotel requires 100 tons of equipment, that's about 90 metric tons, sent to the moon and can accommodate 10 guests. Their first hotel is an inflatable habitat assembled on Earth and flown to the moon. Their second is more ambitious and will be partially constructed out of lunar materials. GRU believes that with just 3 flights of guests to the moon per year, starting in 2032, they can break even. These flights will be fully booked before launching to maximize revenue. GRU estimates its internal cost to be $416,667 per person night. Their version 2 hotel can accommodate 10 guests, and with double the expected lifetime from version 1, lasting 20 years. They assume a 10-fold reduction in payload costs to the lunar surface by that time, dropping their internal cost per person night down to $83,333. The version 2 hotel should allow them to capture aggressive margins, as customers will be happy to pay much more than the costs. For example, Dennis Tito paid $20 million for 6 days on the International Space Station. Customers travel on commercial transportation providers such as SpaceX or Blue Origin, with GRU responsible for mission integration and surface operations. Okay, now we understand the vision, the business plan and the economics. Let's look at the technical side. Building the hotel. GRU's plan is for their first hotel to be an inflatable habitat shipped from Earth. Once landed, it just needs to be inflated for an instant hotel. Future hotels will use increasing amounts of local material and would likely be situated in a lunar pit to maximize shielding and to provide a stable thermal environment. Unfortunately, providing an airtight seal using lunar soil and rocks is difficult. GRU doesn't think it's a credible business plan to start with a hotel constructed from lunar resources. However, the economics drive them to use local resources for expanding guest capacity. Their plan is to make full use of lunar landers carrying guests to send equipment to harvest lunar resources as well. The white paper has a chart that displays mass delivered to the surface over time in two different scenarios, one where only Earth-based modules are used, and two where modules make use of lunar soil. Using local resources bends the curve, providing dramatic cost savings over time. GRU intends to use a geopolymer to create a strong construction material from the lunar soil. It's a low-energy solution until enough lunar infrastructure exists to consider extracting metal and other materials from the lunar soil. The white paper goes into the details, but in summary, shipping an activator and applying it to the lunar soil is good enough to begin with. GRU believes sourcing the activator from lunar soil is possible later on. The water needed will be shipped from Earth, but a large fraction can be reclaimed during the curing process. Artemis, NASA's moon base plan. GRU Space states that NASA's Artemis plan, which involves building a moon base by 2030, provides the demand GRU needs for their business plan. Artemis missions will provide a surge of spending, which is highly likely to continue given China is also planning a moon base. NASA's goals align with GRU's roadmap. Mission timelines. To ensure missions can start as soon as possible, GRU needs to minimize payload upmass and maximize habitable volume, which improves the economics of the lunar hotel. They have an aggressive timeline planned out. Mission 1, straight shot to lunar demo. In 2029, GRU will land a CubeSat-sized payload of around 10 kilos on the moon with a commercial lunar payload services provider to de-risk some of their core technologies. This payload will have a tiny inflatable hotel using the same materials and form factor of the version 1 hotel. In addition, an ISRU, that's In Situ Resource Utilization demo, will be attached to the module. A small drill will extend to the surface to collect a sample of the lunar soil. They will add their activator solution brought from Earth to test the creation of their geopolymer material. Mission 2, scaling up. In 2031, GRU planned to land a much larger payload on one of the NASA lunar lander missions, likely hundreds of kilos in mass. It will land near one of the known lunar pits. A subscale inflatable structure will be deployed into the base of a pit. In addition, a larger ISRU system will be deployed. This will be the first commercial lunar pit mission. Mission 3, the first hotel. The first hotel is deployed to the lunar surface in 2032, only 6 years from now. It will be launched on a heavy lander, either a Blue Origin Mark II or a Starship vehicle, robotically deployed and inflated to create a large enough hotel for 4 guests to comfortably stay in for several days. The hotel will have a full life support system, including a carbon dioxide scrubber, oxygen generator, water reclamation system, and thermal control. It will also include an emergency evacuation system in case of decompression and a solar storm shelter. The concept of outfitting inflatables on Earth and deploying and inflating them in space has already been proven with a Bigelow Aerospace beam module. This flew in 2016 and is still attached to the ISS 10 years later. The GRU version 1 hotel should last for 10 years before major repair or replacement is needed. GRU plans to situate the hotel at a location with spectacular views of the lunar terrain, plus amazing views of Earth, and include exciting extravehicular activities for the guests. Mission 4 Plus Expansion. Future missions will refine the local lunar harvesting technologies and scale up the process. Adding a regolith-built outer structure should provide more protection from radiation, allowing longer stays for the guests. GRU believes landing large Martian payloads won't happen until mid to late 2030s. The experience they gather from the moon will help them build out infrastructure on Mars and from there to the rest of the solar system. Final thoughts. Well, this startup came out of nowhere. They certainly have an ambitious plan to build and operate the moon's first hotel. Using an inflatable habitat for their first hotel is a good idea, and using contracted lunar landers to send additional equipment to the moon makes sense. If their internal cost per customer night is as low as they estimate, it seems they have plenty of room to make large profits per guest, given how only a small number of people would be able to stay at the Moon Hotel. Such an experience will likely come with a very large price tag. What do you think of GRU's plans to build hotels on the Moon? Is it too ambitious, or could their plan actually work? Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section below. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this space video, consider buying me a coffee to help fund more episodes like this. The link is in the description. Space News Live is on Saturday evening or Sunday morning, depending where you watch from. The live stream is a great way for you to share your thoughts and opinions on the videos I posted this week, or on any space topic in general. I highlight the most thought-provoking comments on videos I've received, along with previews of upcoming content. If you got the time, please tune in and say hi. Be sure to like and subscribe so you'll see our upcoming videos. We make videos every week covering the space industry, with an emphasis on the smaller space startups that aren't covered so well on other channels. See you soon.